Welcome to A Rare Reality. I'm Christina Janes. It's a special edition this time where we flash back to two of our favorite stories of hope.
And today we have Michelle Frieshine with us. Her daughter Haley has been diagnosed with Jordan syndrome. And Michelle, we're so excited to have you on today for our very first Rare Reflection, talking about how life happens. We get diagnosed with something like Jordan syndrome. We move through that diagnosis. And you have this wonderful little person who lives with you every single day and has created so many memories with you. And we want to just celebrate Haley today. Tell me all about her.
So first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor. The Jordan's Angels organization and families and outreach has been such an amazing outlet and support in our journey after Haley's diagnosis. So I'm really grateful and excited to be on today. But Haley is my little princess, and she's a year and a half, which is crazy because I don't know where the time has gone. I guess COVID kind of took a little bit of our time away, but doesn't change a thing or the love that we have for Haley. She was diagnosed in October when she was 8 months old. And, it's still sometimes it takes me a little bit to, remember she has the diagnosis and to, sometimes kind of find my grounding with it. But, we get through it every day. And we try to look at Haley as Haley and not Jordan syndrome. Haley is Haley, and she happens to have this diagnosis of Jordan syndrome, but that's not all who she is and, what she's about. So just to give you a little picture of Haley, it's pretty rare, like her syndrome, to find her without a smile on her face. She literally smiles at everything and everyone, and especially me. I'm her favorite. Don't tell my husband.
Even better. Yeah, don't tell him.
Sorry. But yeah, she is just the happiest little girl. And to see her giggle at her brother or our dog is just the most special thing in the world. And I waited a really long time for that giggle and that smile because, with Jordan syndrome, milestones take a little bit. So when she hit that milestone, my heart, I just remember feeling so just grateful for it. And it was something that I didn't realize, it was something I would wait for when having a child.
Well, and it's funny because, you think about that and you think about the fact that, you waited for that smile, you waited for that giggle, you waited for that moment that's probably forever burned in your brain, that moment that it actually did happen. Things that other families maybe take for granted that they happen just in time. But that moment, talk about that day, because I feel like that's such a huge experience for so many of our families when you finally connect.
Right. And it's so funny you mentioned the connection piece because, I'm putting it all out there. To be honest, it did take a little bit longer to connect with my daughter, Haley, than, my son, my older 4-year-old, Noah. And, I feel guilt for that, because I spent so much time trying to, figure out what her diagnosis was. But I just think that the eye contact and the smile wasn't there, as quickly as I had imagined or hoped for. So I think it took a little bit to get that connection, but I'll paint a picture of that day. So Haley, she's used to her daily routine. She gets a daily picture in her chair in her room, and with her special outfit of the day. She has a lot of clothes. I'm living vicariously through her,
as you should. Yes.
Her wardrobe, I mean, it's insane. So she knows every day she's getting a picture, and for the first 2.5 months of her life, I was propping her up, and even that's still a struggle. With children who are diagnosed with Jordan syndrome, they, don't always sit right away.
Yeah, low muscle tone.
And the head control. So that for me, it wasn't just like, let me prop her up for a quick picture. It was like a 15-minute ordeal. So, I got the pillows propped and I would, maneuver her body so that she was sitting perfectly in her chair. And that specific day, that particular day, I remember I propped her up and I was like, okay, Haley, it's time for your picture. And she looked at me right in the eyes and she just had this beaming smile across her face. And I think my husband was still sleeping, but I literally started crying and I was like, Andrew, you have to come in. She's smiling. And then he came in and she stopped smiling. I was like,
She's
I promise.
like, yeah, she's like, not for you.
No, of course, I didn't get it on camera, but that's okay because I have that memory.
Yep, it's in here. Yeah.
It's in here and in my heart. But it was just like I waited for it and it finally happened and no one was there to witness it, but that's okay because it happened.
It happened and it happened with mom. And it's just, I think those moments are just they're so spectacular. To say the least, and to have that forever is just, it's so special. But we hear from a lot of our family members and from other families in the rare disease space whose children maybe haven't had that connection yet, or they're still waiting on that first smile or that first moment of knowing that you have that mom and me connection, or dad and me, or however you are a parent or a guardian to that child. For those families who are listening to this today and thinking, okay, I haven't had that yet, what's your message for them? Because I think that the idea is that we want to uplift and we want to give hope to these families too. So what's your message for them?
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway and message and advice I can give for another parent that's maybe, new to the diagnosis or, waiting for a milestone, or I'd like to call it an inch stone, which someone else introduced that concept. Everything happens on their own time. And that's not just, our children. It's a typical child too. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do what they want when they want, they'll get there on their own time, and try to just find the other things that they're doing and that they're doing well, because, there's probably another parent out there and their child's probably doing something that I, desperately want Haley to do. And she's not there yet. And I know she'll get there, but, I just think you have to have the patience and wait a little bit for those things to happen, and they will come. Yeah. So the grass is kind of always greener, but, there's always something that you're looking for that someone else has until you have it. And then you're like, okay, what's next? So I think it's just taking every single thing that happens and just, I don't know, celebrating that moment so much. So that smile, it came a little bit quicker. I mean, in relation to like Jordan syndrome, but I think that, I'm still waiting for her to have full head control. So, I think you have to kind of balance those things out. And I just look at her every day and I'm like, look what she's doing really well. And look at Haley compared to Haley, not Haley compared to my son 100%. Or anyone else. Yep.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important, is that you have to remember that your child they're their own person. They're going to move at their own pace. They're going to do things the way that they want to do them. And if you just remember that these are little mini celebrations along the way, and you really, truly appreciate those celebrations, it's so awesome, because these kids have so much to teach all of us. All kids do, but especially these kids who are fighting for these milestones inch by inch, and really trying to get to them every day. It's pretty amazing. And before I let you go, I know that you've become a real voice in the rare disease community too. So I want families who are listening, who are looking for inspiration, who are looking for some funny moments, some, things where you can connect in that space too. Tell me where they can find you on social media, so that hopefully everybody will be able to get together and enjoy this as a group too.
Right. Thank you. No. So I'm pretty much everywhere. I feel like I've occupied all of social media. I'm like, I'm here. But you can pretty much find me. The name I go by is Mama Bear for Rare. Mm-hmm. I have my blog, which I kind of just talk about weekly, things that are happening in our lives. I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram. I feel like there's so much Instagram is so much fun, and I feel like I'm an adult and I should be like, but I'm having a good time with it because it's a way to really describe things in either a comical way or a serious way or whatever it is, and just make connections with other families, whether it's the Jordan's Angels families or, I've made connections with, other families with children with rare diseases and even individuals with rare diseases themselves. So it's been phenomenal. So if you're not on social media, I'd love to connect with you. And I know the Jordan's Angels would love to connect with you. So you can find me there as well.
Yes. And if you want to see sweet Haley's face and that smile, holy moly. And that child's wardrobe, my goodness, she always is dressed to the nines. So take a peek at theirs, and Mama Bear for Rare, because it's so worth it. I love it. It's just so uplifting and so great. So Michelle, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
And now let's hear from Sid, Yara's dad, and his story of hope.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are really looking forward to this a Rare Reflection, because it's sort of an opportunity to talk about how special your kids are, moments that have stuck with you over time, and have an uplifting moment for the families who are watching this and kind of need just a little push in the right direction to feel like everything's going to be okay. So let's start by talking about Yara. Tell me all about her.
All about it. How much time do we have?
I know, right?
Yara's an enigma, and at the same time, she's an open book. She's brought a very different perspective on life that I think most families in the same situation would relate to. It's not one that someone that you can get by reading a book or listening to someone tell it. It's really the small day-to-day things that you experience, which really make you appreciate the complexity that is someone like Yara. She's 8 now, and we got her diagnosis when she was about 2. And nothing's changed, but everything's changed. And, at the same time, when I say nothing's changed, it's Yara is who she is, and always will be. That'll be the same. And what's changed really is our approach with her and our commitment to do everything we possibly can. Yara she's got this infectious joy about her that just seems to pull in people. I'm obviously biased because I'm a dad, but she's got this big smile and this loud laugh and just a very happy-go-lucky attitude, which she gets a lot from Carol. That's not my side. That's definitely Carol's side, and it's not something that you see every day in day-to-day life. And it's one of those things I treasure the most about her. It's just how in tune with herself and the world she is living each moment to its fullest. She's the kid that's dancing when nobody else is dancing. She's the one that's singing in a very loud voice when it's not appropriate, but at the same time makes everyone laugh. She's got a very, very, very different sense of humor, different meaning good, but it's not Carol's sense of humor, it's not mine. She's got a unique spin on things. She's got a lot of interests that I do, I'm a scientist, engineer by heart and training, and she gets a lot of that from me, I think, and Carol as well. So we're both the same. But she's I guess like any kid, she's a mix of both of us, but we see who she is through a very different lens. She reveals who she is, not in the standard way, not in the linear way that we expect our kids to. You almost kind of have to go hunting and look at things a little bit differently and go, oh yeah, that's what Yara is. And so, that's not a direct answer, but it's not easy to put a direct answer on.
No, I mean, I think that paints a really clear picture of who she is, though, because to spend 5 minutes with Yara is to love her, because it's so funny. She's just, everything about her is larger than life. She just is, she fills up a room, and she's such a joy to be around. And, Carol had shared with us a picture of her first day of school when she, marched over and took the flag and marched her classmates down the lawn.
right.
She's just a big personality. But is there one memory that sticks out in your mind since the diagnosis, since, in the last, even in the last 8 years, that really sticks with you, where you thought, I'll never forget that? Because we all sort of have those with our kids.
Yeah, there's certainly many of those, because as Yara keeps challenging us, she keeps surprising us in ways we didn't expect. The earliest one, I think, was I think it was preschool. So this is when we just moved to Boulder, Colorado from Rochester, New York, and Yara was going to preschool. She couldn't, I forget if she was walking by then. She used to use a little gold walker and kind of own the hallways with it. You can't see my hands, but I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But I remember I used to carry her into class every day, and we would stand in line because she didn't have the stamina to walk from the car to the to the classroom, and would stand in line, and everyone would go in. And I remember for the first, I think it was good weeks or a month maybe, Yara would just, she never had any issues with separation. She would, just wave and walk in, and that was great. That had its, that's great to see for a kid. But then, you would see all the other kids before they go in, run back to their mom and dad and want to hug and want to kiss. And, that's, I always remembered feeling almost deprived of it. Like, I want that with Yara. I want her to turn around and run to me and want me to hug and kiss her before she goes in. That seems to be one of the perks of being a parent,
right?
of having someone that that wants that from you. And Yara, from an early age, she this is probably another good story, but she had we had to work through how she would connect with people, because it wasn't something that came naturally. And now, of course, she's a very different person. But at that point, engaging wasn't her thing. She was just in her own world. And so she would walk into class, and I would just sort of look at her back and wonder, when I could have that. And I kind of, I sort of dismissed it, saying, well, that is just Yara, who she is, and that's not what I should expect from her. And then one day she starts walking in, and all the kids around her are going to their mom and dad and crying and begging for a kiss and another hug, and then she stops at the entrance and turns around and just does this and says no. And what she was trying to say is that she wants a kiss on the nose, because that's what I used to do with her all the time. Is I would kiss her on the nose and say nose. And I think something must have clicked with her, going, yep, no, that's how my daddy does it. And she stopped and turned around, and then she started doing that every day. And it's such a trivial thing. It's something that you wouldn't usually remember, but for families with kids like Yara, it's just those small wins that make such a big difference. And I remember going back to my car. And I have a bad memory and I forget everything. And I sat down and I don't often write in my diary, but that's one thing I did write down, saying, don't forget this moment. Yara has a different way of revealing herself and of engaging, and just be patient. So I think that message of just be patient, don't expect things to happen the way it would with some of the other kids or siblings. Everything is there. Our kids experience the world just like anybody else. They feel the same sadness, happiness, joy, and love. It's just the way they express it might be different. So that's always stuck with me. And I think when I remind myself of that, and I think the fact that I'm bringing it up means it stayed with me for such a long time. I probably will. But it's those small trivial moments that that really make your day. That's life with Yara.
And that add up to bigger moments too. There are things that you just that find a special place in your heart and just stay there forever. And it's so great. But I think the message is clear. If have patience, they're going to be themselves, and it'll happen. It's just a matter of time. So So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time spent today and sharing Yara with us and with the world too. Those of us who have been lucky enough to meet Yara and your whole family, you're all very special. So hugs to all of you, and thank you. And if anyone wants to take a listen to this podcast, you can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, and Google as well. The video version on our website, jordansguardianangels.org.